they love to promote certain agendas, and they love to use statistics to try to paint a certain picture. But when the picture is getting painted by that particular side of America, they want to get rid of it. The right can't stand on accountability. And I'm not trying to make this a right versus left thing, but the people who align with the MAGA and a lot of they can't take accountability when it comes to a lot of shit. They love to say black folk got victim mentality. They love to say victim mentality. But this party blame Mexicans on the tax deficit and other immigrants on the tax deficit. You blame blacks on crimes. You blame small hat wearing people, aka the Hughes, you know what I'm saying, on all the world problems and say they control all the banks and do this and do that and they the reason for everything. You blame it on them. You blame LGBTQ on brainwashing kids through television. You get mad because we got a fucking black Spider-Man or we got a black princess and say it's brainwashing kids because it's showing diversity. You know what I'm saying? Anytime we get intellectual, smart, and skilled black people, women, and men in the workforce, we want to say, well, they DEI. They took their job from a white person. They did this and they did that. So you blaming black people who went through school and went through the proper training and trying to discount, their ability to their job or whatever the case is. So you blame China for why all the drugs in America and why the suburbs are full of kids with opioid addictions. You blame everybody besides ourselves for having the nerve to call somebody motherfucking victims. Y'all blame the Democrats for something that a kid who was raised in a MAGA family did. Before motherfuckers even knew who the person was, y'all was ready to blame Democrats. Democrats had nothing to do with it. MAGA has a non-accountability, and they have a fucking gaslighting problem, bro. They literally have a fucking gaslighting problem, and it's sick as fuck. Sick as fuck. Y'all use the victim mentality for everything, but blame every single person besides the super rich billionaires and trillionaires that y'all think are really gonna fight for y'all. Y'all blame everybody but them, and it don't make sense. It don't make sense at all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like that is the real victims. Like this whole fucking white man fight back shit, this whole white oppression shit, like it just make you think like it's fucking sick. Like y'all create situations in y'all head and try to and create a fucking hero, or y'all try to create situations in y'all head so y'all can have a reason to retaliate, but or to attack other groups or other ideologies of other people. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing what Hitler did in the beginning stages of Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
He told his population that hey, these people are the root causes of all y'all problem. You feel me? So eventually he got them to believe that hey, damn, these people are oppressing me. I ain't never thought about these people a day in my life, but they oppressing me.
Yeah.
You eventually get to telling them, hey, you better than them, but these people got their fucking foot on your neck, but you're better than them. You know what I'm saying? So what you need to do is you need to just start disliking them, and that dislike turned into hatred, and that's what created Nazi Germany because you had a fucking leader who created false flags operations of hate, convinced the majority that a minority is the reason for all their fucking problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what America has done with everybody who don't align with the right, far right, conservative, Christian nationalistic point of view. You know.
I mean, but that's kind of deeply ingrained into the conservative mind that what I'm saying, they always got to be fighting evil outside of themselves, so they never have to really look in and do any type of reflection because it's always a reason and the people who are like to blame for them, to be able to point their outrage towards.
Mm-hmm.
And any incident in America, they always try to point everyone towards anybody else but themselves. Even when you bring up the domestic terrorism stats, everyone knows ever since the 1990s, every time you hear something about a school shooting, a mass attack, you always expect it to be a far right conservative type you know what I'm saying, good old boy, because that's they trademark. But that non-accountability has always been within them.
Right. But you know, it had a nerve. So
in the military, that would probably Donald Trump need to be court-martialed or something like that. That's disrespectful to fly the flags at half-mast for a person who had no significant political influence or nor like lawmaking and shit. Like that man was as much a random to everybody else as, you know what I'm saying, he should have been to Donald Trump. Like that was on Air Force Two.
Yeah.
Like they put that man on Air Force Two. That man ain't. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I be saying about political influence. He served some type of political influence because he parroted the message.
Yeah, he was literally a paid agent of misinformation. He was paid by the administration to promote part of 2025 Inheritance Foundation propaganda.
And him and Ben Shapiro are kind of cut from the same cloth to me.
To an extent, yeah. They more similar than different.
Exactly. They're more similar than different simply because like they're willing to sell and peddle, you know what I'm saying, misinformation and just straight up lie. Because every time they bring up George Floyd, that's a lie. That's a provable lie. It's in the autopsy reports. That man did not die from a fentanyl overdose.
And this is my thing. And I'm going to speak on George Floyd, but all right, folks, listen. If you ever seen anybody have a fucking overdose, you usually have an overdose while you were getting high, while you were actively on the drug. You're not having an overdose an hour after the fact, 2 hours after the fact. You're not finna get up and walk to the store, handle your business at the store, and walk out the store, and
just start overdosing.
No, it don't work like that.
Work like that.
You feel me? Not to mention, y'all want to convince yourselves that the man was fine. He was able to walk his ass to the store, and the overdose ain't kick in until he had a fucking knee on his neck. Just because somebody got drugs in their system, don't mean a motherfuckers actively or currently on drugs.
But that's how that's always how they dodge the accountability. They try to find anything.
Right? Do motherfuckers know how long it takes for drugs to completely not be traceable within your body? You can have done drugs a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months ago, and depending on what it is, it will still be traceable in your body. Don't mean a motherfucker overdose. And that's the craziest thing, that it was a real argument, even though we seen it with our own eyes, that a knee was on that man's neck. And it's really people who really created a real argument despite what they seen and tried to say he was on he overdosed. But that just goes to show you the mindset of far-right people. They don't give a fuck about facts. They don't give a fuck about evidence. They only care about what they feel. And it's looking back at that shit, that they convinced themselves that a man overdosed after seeing somebody have their neck on another man's neck while the man saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe.
34 seconds. You
convince yourself that he overdosing? Who the who can talk during an overdose? I've never seen nobody be able to say fucking words during an overdose. I've never seen nobody say words through an overdose.
That's how they just dodge accountability, bro. Because they do the same thing. I feel like almost every community do, but they do it to the point where it's nauseating because y'all have the power to hold these people accountable, yet y'all never do to somehow protect, like sometimes save face. Like we gonna look at everybody. You look at everybody like, you know, like, well, you know, it's not all of us, or well, you know, maybe he wasn't. It can be right in front of your eyes, and you just sit there and deny reality. Oh yeah. But you start denying reality. That's just the easiest way to dodge accountability. You just want to, you know, just deny the facts. Like, I can deny the facts, bring my own interpretation of it. Everything you say is fake news. That's the worst term ever created in political history. Fake news.
It's only fake because you would be fake.
Exactly.
So, goddamn, we finna react to what we just talked about. How Dove just deleted the statistics showing far-right neo-Nazi terrorists make up the biggest percentage of domestic terrorism in America.
That is correct, Inca. The US Department of Justice deleted one of its own studies from its website, a study that concluded that far-right extremists had killed more Americans, in fact, than left-wing or radical Islamist extremists. Now, this was first reported by independent internet and technology journalists at 404 Media, but in fact, it was first flagged by a PhD student by the name of Daniel Malmer, who is studying online extremism. He had been monitoring the page, and in fact, he found that it had disappeared from the internet between the 12th and the 13th of September. So that's just days after Charlie Kirk was shot by a gunman on the 10th
It's
of
not a
September.
coincidence.
And he noted that the last date of accessibility for that study on the DOJ website was the 12th of September. Now, according to Malmer and 404 Media, after it was deleted from the website, this is the immediate redirection from the DOJ website. This was the page. A notice appeared on it saying that it is currently reviewing its website and materials in accordance with recent executive orders and related guidance. Since then, however, it has in fact been updated again to a single...
Bruh, like, who? I want to know whose job it is to, like...
The Supreme Court. Whatever you talk about what he finna do is...
No, not that, but I want to know whose job it is to, like, type up, like, the bullshit for the White House. Like, whenever the White House doing something, like, you know, I want to know whose job it is to type up, like, the bullshit excuses.
I know they hot. It's like, man, this man do something every fucking day. Like, every day is something with you, bro.
Like, I want to know who fucking job that is, bro.
But it's probably automated. They probably automated that shit. Oh yeah, just right. Just
who the fuck runs the White House Twitter? Cause they be fucking trolling bad as fuck on that shit.
Bro,
they gotta be like a fucking 19-year-old or some shit.
Probably like 24.
Let's take a look. Here it is. The requested page could not be found. That is all there is now on that single page. Now, if we want to talk a little bit about that study in question, the Vanish study was titled What NIJ Research, so that's National Institute of Justice Research, tells us about domestic terrorism. It is only available now to view, Yinka, on this page, Wayback Machine, which is in fact an internet archive.
Well, the timing of that really was extremely interesting there, isn't it, Venica? What's also noticeable is that the Scrub report seems to directly contradict recent statements made by the Trump administration.
Yes, you could say that. The Scrubbed report, published in January 2024, it spans 3 decades of research, and literally in its opening paragraph, its opening words are here. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicides than far-left or radical Islamist extremists. They've even included figures here, saying that includes 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In this same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideologically motivated attacks that took 78 lives. As you said, this is a stark contrast to the recent comments we have been hearing from Trump and Trump's officials in the White House. Trump and his officials have in fact been pointing the finger at left-wing extremism linked to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This week, Trump himself made several statements about the left. He said, quote, "The radical left causes tremendous violence and they seem to do it in a bigger way." So that directly contradicts the findings of that study we saw there. Now, just days ago, he doubled down on that stance one more time. Now, let's take a listen exactly to what he said.
Well, the problem is on the left. When you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left, that's not the right.
So, doubling down on his stance again.
He talk like an old ass man, just saying shit.
Again, this week the White House
that's how he get them to understand it when he talking catchphrases.
Vast domestic
the left, the right.
But not even that though. He just old people just be saying shit like, all right, grandpa, like, all right, man. You just fucking chatting.
Like 78.
Don't drop the 80.
Charlie Kirk's killing. Now, I just want to note that whilst the investigation into the death of Charlie Kirk is ongoing,
if you gotta be a certain age to run, you need to be underneath a certain age to do it.
Linking his suspected shooter, Tyler Robinson, to any such groups or any connection made thus far. But overall, let's return
side by side. He looked just like Charlie.
Remain as follows. The DOJ did quietly remove from its website a study that detailed the scale and figures of right-wing
brother like fucking
in the US. The White House
hell no, cause brother, hell no. Baltimore look more like the It Clown.
The DOJ has not responded to any
that bro right there, he look like
about why
I don't know, but they don't look the same to me.
That page on its website. So that is the fact.
Got here side by side. They look similar, bro.
I just want to say, by the way, that was a news station. That wasn't an American news station. So it's crazy how we have to go find a French news station to report on things that's going on in America because a lot of the major media outlets can't say certain things, or people are gonna lose their jobs, or certain programs are gonna get shut down, and so now we have to go to foreign news stations to get perspectives about what's going on in our country. You know what I'm saying? Perspective that doesn't obviously favor the type of shit Trump would say. Um, this shit fucked up. Like for the land of the free, we slowly losing freedom of speech every day, every day. And motherfuckers might say, "Oh well, you ain't going to jail." No, you ain't going to jail yet. Yeah. But motherfuckers losing, motherfuckers getting expelled from colleges from using freedom of speech. Motherfuckers are been losing their jobs the past few days. Freedom of speech. I mean,
it's like it's the same. It's this. I ain't gonna lie. It has never been more true in this time right now to say that if you don't study history, it will repeat itself. Because this is the exact same playbook, bro. And you can draw down the 1-to-1 comparisons to everything they did back in Germany. He got his own special police, aka even though they're not currently acting like a special police at this very moment, but you see the groundwork being laid for it. They're always trying to test the waters to see if the people are okay with certain actions being taken. He got political power in every sphere. He has political figureheads in every sphere. We need to react to that FBI director. He just went ahead. He just went before Congress. We need to react to that. Denying him being in the files. That just happened recently. What else? He always painting the target on different groups. Oh, this immigrant group is this. These people are murderers. These people are terrorists. These people are causing dysfunction. He's always riling up and trying to create a disturbance to keep you distracted from all the other things that's happening, which is, the C-suite kind of like just buying up and controlling certain resources and controlling certain avenues to life and
just equipment to make our customers
the way we run the country. That's the main thing about it is it's always a distraction. Basically, they try to weave a smoke screen to distract you from what's really going on, which is he's always putting things in order or saying things that are like basically counteractive to the society that we try to work towards in the first place.
Yeah. What up? But yeah, we ain't going to jail yet for using our freedom of speech, but the fact that people are getting doxxed and people are suffering penalties, this only gonna lead to eventually motherfuckers going to jail for using freedom of speech. Like slowly but slowly, like America was created out of motherfuckers trying to get out of the whole corrupt system that the British was doing. They didn't like taxation, representation. They didn't like overly paying in taxes. They didn't like having a king and a queen. They didn't like being told how they should view religion. They didn't like the fact they didn't have freedom of speech. But it just go to show you, like, we basically created a country because of all those different things. But now we're slowly turning the country back into all the things that America was created to escape.
The children yearn for the minds.
But it's out of motherfuckers thinking that because they beating the libs, they somehow gaining more freedoms. When in actuality, when it all come down to it, it's gonna be rich versus poor. And everybody gonna be getting their ass handed to them. Everybody gonna be getting overly taxed if you're not in a certain tax bracket. Everybody freedom of speech is gonna get took. Right now it's easy to say, hey, well, my dude, I'm on this side of my dude in the office right now, but eventually once things, all these different policies that's going through Congress now, that people been getting distracted because of race and political war. And all these things really go into effect, and people from both sides, because people already been affected, shit high as fuck. But once more shit start happening by the end of the year, and now everybody getting directly affected by a lot of shit, motherfucker gonna wake up for real eventually. And they gonna see like at the end of the day, it's rich versus poor. But Trump, you know, in this whole Pride 2025 Heritage Foundation shit, you know, they have a real racist agenda. Motherfuckers like to deny racism from the administration. I don't know why when it's blatant. Motherfuckers do race shit every day. You feel me? They just tried to motherfucking bomb HBCU schools for a situation black people had no involvement in. But Pride 2025 Heritage Foundation is a far right, you know, neo-Nazi. Well, I ain't gonna say neo-Nazi, but a far right Christian, evangelical Christian organization who, you know, when you got far right and Christian in the same sentence, equals racist. So we're just gonna keep it a being equal racist. I don't really know too many far right conservative Christians who probably don't have racism in them at least. Most of them are at least racist or fucking subconsciously racist. But yeah, so this is one of the things that's, you know, in the agenda, removing Black history, textbooks, museums, all kind of different shit, right? Like he was explaining, you know, you remove history, you stop history, you not gonna know how to act in the future. You're not gonna know the future because history, the main part of history is how to know how to go about certain situations. And because we got a lot of people who don't know history, who, you know, they
straight up deny it at times.
You feel me? Deny it because out of ignorance. But now Trump is at the point to where like, hey, I already got the dumbasses, but now the next future generations, we need them even more fucking dumber. They don't really need to know about half this shit. You know what I'm saying? That's why they trying to get to the point to where they want, some of these states are now trying to get their teachers or their staff to be like 50-60% conservative, whatever the case is. In Oklahoma, you gotta take a damn test to prove how conservative you is before you can get a job and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of these, they pushing this agenda of trying to rewrite history because they want to produce a generation of people who forgot the negatives of slavery, that forgot the negatives of division. Division causes shit like civil wars. And I don't understand, as the president of the United States, why the fuck do you want a divided fucking country? But at the end of the day, we all gotta look at it like this: it's rich and poor. Niggas like that don't give a fuck about the country because at the end of the day, Trump is selling out America. A lot of you motherfuckers are in this shit for $1. One day, like we already is, but Americans are really going to just be customers. Customers who pay rent to live in the country. And we're not gonna anything, and you know what I'm saying. And we are getting sold out day by day. And that's why I think those people in these positions take our rights and freedoms and what made us Americans for granted because they selling us out. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck if America run for another 200, 300, 400 years. As long as they get what the fuck they get out of it and can pass the bullshit down to they fucking reptilian ass families. But we finna get into the video though.
A photograph of a beaten slave is being removed from all national parks, including Harper's Ferry National Historic Park in West Virginia. Until now, we've held off showing you that picture to prepare you because it is especially graphic.
We're going to bring in Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes into this conversation, but we're going to show you this photograph from 1863 before we dive in. It's called the Scourged Back, and it's also known as Whipped Peter. His name was Pete Gordon, an escaped slave who was whipped so many times the horrifying marks on his back are clear to see.
All right, we've got Khalif Rhodes back with us here to talk about this. The president had an executive order back in March of this year restoring truth's sanity to American history, instructing the Interior Department to eliminate, quote, eliminate interpretive materials deemed part of a corrosive ideology that disparages historic Americans. Where does this picture, is it up for interpretation on what's corrosive? What does that look like legally?
I think there are a number of concerns that will be there. I mean, it's under his discretion to be able to do that as the executive, so I'll start there. But there will be a number of constitutional grounds in terms of, I say this a number of times, your First Amendment isn't just the speech that I say, isn't just the clothes that I wear, it's also my ability to acquire and access speech specifically in public places. And so in these locations that he's talking about, like in national museums or national parks, this is a public forum, a public location that I, as a United States citizen, should have access to be able to see and acquire these types of things. And so the removal, because that's what it is, not as the National Park spokesman said, this isn't a removal, this is a chance for us to give balance and to give historical context rather than outright erasure. I am not sure how it isn't. I mean, if you're removing these images, you got to remember at the time when this image was taken, 1863, folks in the North didn't believe this was happening. And so you didn't have photos. You didn't have any images. If you didn't travel to the South and see it for yourself, it's like the kids say today, if you don't have a photo, it didn't exist. It didn't happen. It's the same exact thing. This photo right here was an actual picture to show you what the horrors and what it actually looked like during the time. Not just to see a whip, but to see the scars on an individual's back. And so it was a constant reminder. But the push to remove these types of things isn't new.
Well, so what do you think is the legal action that can be taken in order to keep things like this available to the public as part of national parks, which again, is federally controlled, but what does that legal action look like to keep it?
The first step will be an injunction. You'd file an injunction just like anything else, an irreparable harm, because you can't throw money at the memory or the education that you get from lacking or not being able to see these images. And so that would be the first step, and then finding a court that's open and willing to do that, and then challenging and having a court that's willing to say this is something that you cannot do because it's constitutionally protected. I've mentioned this is not something new. In the era of Reconstruction, right after we come out of Reconstruction, there was a huge push. I'm talking about a serious push with this lost cause narrative to disconnect the Civil War from slavery. That, hey, this wasn't a big thing, that the slave owners were nice, and the enslaved people, they were happy, loyal, and content. That narrative was pushed all the way throughout Reconstruction. So then when we fast forward to the 20th century, all the way up into the 1960s, books in the South specifically that they were reading were saying that slavery was just benign. It was this little thing that happened. It wasn't until the Civil Rights Act in 1960s that you had folks saying, okay, we got to stop attempting to erase this history. And so now this is just a reoccurrence of the pushback. Because before that time, there was really no mentioning of these types of things. Fast forward to the 60s, and now you have an awakening, or at least a reckoning, an attempt to reckon with our past. And so then you start to see these things pop up. Now this is an attempt to pull that back, to try to, as President Trump has said, restore truth and sanity. But this is true. This did occur. This isn't something that someone made up. I mean, there was no AI back then. This image wasn't created. They took this picture of a man that went through horror. And now to attempt to make it seem like it's something that's painting that era in a light that's unfavorable. Well, if it's unfavorable, it's unfavorable. It's not like you paint it a better way. So I am concerned with where we're going, but in terms of legal challenges, there are many.
Okay.
It's not over yet.
All right, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's apps.
Shit crazy.
That's crazy because literally, bro, it's like under the guise of trying to create a closer society after what just happened and what you just said, you taking away historical context because as they said, people up north did not know this is the graphic nature. That don't even begin. That's only the tip of the iceberg of what really happened and what they did to people who they considered less than human back then. And for him to say that under the guise of creating a sane world, you erase the history of what you done. This is the ultimate, this is a culmination of literally what we've been saying this entire time. First of all, you scrubbing it so the future generation has no reference point as to what this act was. They can only hear a word and be like, oh, people own people, they made them work. It's not that bad. That doesn't even begin to describe what happened back then to our people. So right then you already just basically kind of sanitizing history to the point of where Like, we're not saying that people should feel guilty, but you should see the consequences of when you start to label people as less than, and you start to feel like you have a genetic superiority over them. This is the outcome. You start doing things to people because you start to see them as less than. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at that man's back and you think about how they strung his hands up to a tree and he screamed as he did that. He just took the skin, the tissue, the muscle off this man's back. And it never ever healed correctly. It never would have healed correctly. That's for one. So you taking the mental image that, oh, when you label people as less than, or you put certain labels to groups, this is the type of harm that came from that ideology. That like I said, that's probably the most tame image you can have of that period of time.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot worse. They ate somebody. They ate Nat Turner. They ate him. They boiled him and ate him. Sold his skin as tonics and greases. Some people, I don't even think his family has ownership of his skull. That's how bad it got. And you trying to take that away from a generation because you want them to not feel bad.
Yeah, this whole goddamn racial history goes, like I said, this is part of the 2025 Heritage Foundation agenda. They want to normalize things. They're going to normalize it by first making us forget about it. Then they're going to bring it back and make it seem like it's normal. But, I mean, the motherfuckers can deny racism from the far right all day long, but it's obvious. It's simple. Because my thing is, they removing all this history, Black American history, but they not replacing it with more positive Black history. So it's like, okay, boom. If you gonna take from the textbook, add to the textbook. If you gonna take some negative things out, or if you wanna, I guess, make things PG-13 to an extent, right? Go ahead and start putting all the more positive things since you leaving some things out. Talk about more of the Black inventors. Like, do motherfuckers know the modern HVAC system was invented by Black women? There would be no, heat and cooling without a Black woman. Do motherfuckers know the moon landing would have happened without Black women? They did the math. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of things we aren't taught about in school. They teach us about Thomas Edison, who really ain't invent shit, but just bought a lot of shit and stole a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? But again, this administration, they don't give a fuck about actually teaching history at all. Black, white, yellow, green at all. But as far as when it comes to Black people, their whole ideology, see, they trying to make it seem like, hey, we gonna create a story that kind of not goes too hard and too graphic into the terrors of American history. But in reality, it's, you know what I'm saying? It's more like, hey, we don't want motherfuckers to feel bad. For one, maybe you can say that. For two, I think they want to get rid of history and shit like that, because you remember the book The Giver?
Yeah.
So in the book The Giver, nobody had recollection of the world before them. So from the day you was born, right, you don't remember shit. Nobody remembers shit from prior to before the day they was born. And when you get to a certain age within their society, they kill you. You feel me? And only one person called The Giver is trusted with the knowledge of what happened in the world before their society. No, and on top of that, nobody can see color. Nobody can see green. They can see neutral colors, but nobody can see, like, green and whatever else type shit. You feel me? But in that whole book, in The Giver, it's a movie too, but in The Giver, like, these kids are dead ass lost. They don't, like, they have no clue of anything. You know what I'm saying? They think this is how it is. And the boy who gets picked to be the next Giver, he realizes it's so much more to the world, But the reason they take the power of knowledge away from them is to make it easier to control each generation. Because once you get too old, okay, we don't need you trying to tell stories, and plus you can't really add too much production to the society, so they kill them. You know what I'm saying? So the whole and if the new generation don't know what's going on, it's easier to tell them what we wanted to tell them. So they don't have to form their own ideas. They don't have to form their own agendas. They don't have to form their own opinions on certain things. It's easy to control them, and this is exactly what's going on. Like the Giver was literally a fucking dystopian society, and America is turning into the Giver is turned into the fucking Hunger Games. It then turned into the fucking Maze Runner. It then turned to Divergent. All them different type of movies of them dystopian societies. America is becoming this shit like day by day, bro. You know what I'm saying? They want to get rid of history because hey, they want to produce a generation of
don't do nothing but listen and work. That's all they want.
Yeah, listen and work. Because at the end of the day, in the next 50 years, it's gonna be a permanent underclass. I mean, if America keep going down the same line as going down, it's gonna be a permanent underclass of people who know nothing but work, like just work, sweatshops everywhere type shit. No higher education. That's why they want to attack the universities so bad. You know what I'm saying? They want to get rid of higher education. They don't want people who think. They want to take this shit back to fucking the dark ages, the medieval times, to where the only thing you can know about in the world is what's in the Bible, and what's not in the Bible is witchcraft or devil shit. You feel me? So just listen to this shit and go fucking work.
And
you know what I'm saying?
And the worst part about it is, it's so many people that's so uneducated. They kind of welcoming it back, because if you really listen to the way like MAGA speaks, they kind of hold that man up as like a royal. Like they hold them up like a royal family. It's like they yearning for this, because like they so lost and think like all these other groups are out to destroy what is the American way, which is crazy because the American way at one point was like we're the melting pot of the world. I don't know where that ideology went. I don't think it really existed, but at one point we were the melting pot of the world, and everybody could come here and make a way. If you got a talent, or you got some type of smarts about you, or you got some type of will to work about you, you could have been, you know what I'm saying, true justice American way. But at the end of the day, you just gotta look at the communities within America, and you just look at the state and the way they interact amongst each other, and you get here and you realize like this ain't the place you thought it would be. And then going back to like the way they sanitizing, like, you know what I'm saying, basically education at this point, because like back in Germany, you control the way information flow. When you control information, you control the person's mind.
Right.